Hello, welcome along to the Tyler Sens YouTube live feed. My name is Dan Wimbush and this is our post-game show for Reading 1, Wigan 0. I am joined for this lovely show by the man floating around in the box in the top corner, which should be over there. I'm still not getting my angles right. There you are, Ollie. That is Mr. Ollie Allen. Ollie, welcome back to the show. Nice to have you on again.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, and another win to talk about and place in the playoff confirmed. So
absolutely, we're there. We're there. We've waited. We've been teasing it for a while, but we've finally done it. Playoff spot confirmed. We're there. We can all breathe easy. You can look at that little table in the side panel and see that we are comfortably there. We can no longer be caught. And in fact, the whole of the playoffs are now certain, Ollie, because Leeds bottled it, which I'm sure our viewers will be very sad to note. They got themselves into a 3-0 hole against Norwich, who decided to turn up again. And they fought back to 3-3 but couldn't get the job done. So what do you know? Let's all have a moment of silence for Leeds playoff hopes. Okay, with that fun out of the way. We'll get into this game. First of all, let's get the elephant out of the room. This was a bad game for me, Ollie. Anyway, I don't know what you thought of it, but in terms of Reading wins this season, this has got to be amongst the worst wins we've seen this season. Yeah. The stats, again, that you can see in the side panel, tell the story. Reading outshot basically 2-1 by a team who were relegated today. Wigan, 20 shots from Wigan compared to Reading's 10. We did dominate the possession as usual, but we had fewer corners, fewer shots on target. In fact, Reading 2 shots on target in the game. One of those going in from Jan Kermigan. What did you make of the game, Ollie?
I agree with you. I thought it was pretty dire, to be honest. I thought after we got the goal within the first 5-6 minutes, I thought we might be in for an entertaining game. But no, it seems we didn't really threaten after that. Wigan had chances, but you could see exactly why they're going down. I think they had a couple of chances, but they just couldn't finish them at all. And we need to play better than that if we're to do well in the playoffs, I think. But yeah, you can see why Wigan are going down because both sides were pretty poor. But I think Wigan could have actually beaten us today. Yeah,
I thought they were well worthy of a point. It wouldn't have been enough in the end. I mean, we can have a look at the league results from today. They still would have gone down. They needed Birmingham to lose to Huddersfield, but in a result that was great for Reading anyway. Huddersfield going down 2-0 at Birmingham. Harry Redknapp's doing it again, looking like he's going to earn himself a nice little bonus. I think he said he was doing it for free, but I just don't believe Harry when he says that. So yeah, Birmingham picking up the 2-0 win, which meant even if Wigan had won 20-0, they still would have gone down. And as mentioned, the results elsewhere have really gone our way. The only really bad result as far as Reading were concerned today was Sheffield Wednesday winning at Ipswich. Otherwise, Fulham being held at home to Brentford all adds up well. We can see how it shapes up for the top 7 in the table anyway. Reading comfortably in 3rd, and it means, Ollie, if we beat Burton away next week, we will be guaranteed 3rd, which I think will be our 7th best finish in our league history, which is quite the achievement for a first season for Mr. Stam.
Yeah, it's incredible, really. I think considering we all had expectations of maybe about mid-table, maybe a playoff push at best, but not qualifying for the playoffs. It's been a fantastic season. If we could finish 3rd, it would be absolutely spectacular. But just to finish in the playoffs in his first season in charge, when no one expected it very much at all, I think it's been a fantastic campaign.
Absolutely, and just take the time to thank everyone that's joining us for this live stream today. Ryan Doyle, in as usual, thank you for joining us. He's very happy Leeds have fallen apart again, as is Mayor. Morgan Carter says the game was pretty bad. Pete Froud said, a win is a win, gents. Let's get 3rd place. And Daniel Harrington says, boring game, fantastic season. All that needs saying. Is that what we should be really focusing on? I suppose it is the bottom line. We had to get a point today. We've got that point. As it turns out, we didn't even need that. But it was a case of job done. Do you think, is this a fair performance to judge Reading on? Or should it be judged against that backdrop of we're kind of nearly there? Do you think that was still playing on their minds?
Yeah, I think it probably was. And I think especially the opposition as well. I think they sort of had, because Wigan are, they were pretty much down by
23rd and
so I think you could call it saving energy for the playoffs or whatever. But I think I don't think this is a fair game to say this is this is the best Reading can play, because it certainly wasn't.
Did Jaap get his team selection right? We saw Roy Behrens, Gareth McCleary in the starting lineup. We also saw George Evans get a rare game as well. He started the first time in quite a while. I think he's managed to start. Were you happy with the tactics and the team that Jaap put out? We did talk about the podcast this week about maybe it was time to give someone like a Thiago Ilori some minutes. Were you happy to see that sort of same established players coming back in?
Yeah, I think giving Evans some game time was good. I think he's been out with injury for the last couple of weeks, and he's started to come back the last couple of games. So to give him a start, I think he might have completed 90 as well, which is good. So that gets his fitness back up for the playoffs. I might have liked to have seen Lewis Grabban start in place of Roy Behrens perhaps, but no real complaints, and we got the win. So I think was it Laurie that came on last couple of minutes to get some game time as well. So. Yeah, just more game time in the tank for those players coming back from injury can only be a good thing. Yeah,
before we go deeper into performance as well, obviously pass along our best wishes to Sean McDonald from Wigan. A horrible injury. I understand it's a leg break. He was stretchered off, a 10-minute delay in the game, taken straight to hospital. Goes on behalf of all Reading fans everywhere, wishing him a very speedy recovery. I've only seen the Evans tackle as it happened. It made a horrible noise as it happened. It just looked like one of those coming together. I mean, Evans got booked for it, so that the referee obviously thought he was in the wrong. What did you make of it? Again, I don't know if you had a chance to see it back.
I've not seen it back, no, but when I saw it, it was a 50-50 one, I think, and it could have gone either way. I think both players sort of lunged in for the ball, and unfortunately it's McDonald that's come out the worse for wear. So it's a 50-50 one. I think there's definitely no intent there for Evans. I think you can see from his reaction afterwards that he looked absolutely gutted.
Heartbroken.
For what had happened. So there was certainly no intent in there, and it was a 50-50 challenge.
Yeah, really unlucky. I mean, it was a horrible game for injuries as well. Wigan lost another player just before the break as well, and Reading, importantly, it could be important going forward, Gareth McCleary going off. Now, he had missed last week, so there's obviously a bit of a problem he's dealing with. He pulled up just before half-time, went straight down to the turf, head in his hands. He did manage to get up and limp off, which is a good sign, but again, I've not had the chance to listen to Stam's post-match comments if he said anything about it, but really important to get him in some sort of state of fitness for the playoffs, even if it's in a substitute role.
Yeah, I listened to him on Radio Berkshire afterwards. I think he said it's a groin injury that he's been struggling with for most of the season, and that's sort of why he's been a little bit off the pace, a little bit off form the last couple of weeks. I think he said he might need surgery in the summer, but there was no news on whether he'd be able to play in the playoffs, but I think hopefully if he can just get through, I mean he won't be fully fit, but as you say, if he can get a place on the bench, then he might be able to have some sort of impact. Yeah,
absolutely. Going back to the chat, Roy asked, was it a bad tackle? It's not in the highlights. And Ethan says, not really. It was just one of those things. So I mean, I like to see it. Well, I don't want to see it again. It does sound like a very bad one, but. As I said, you feel for Evans in that scenario, and obviously McDonald as well, so wish him that speedy recovery. And the same with McCleary. I thought we were seeing a little bit more of the old McCleary. I mean, the ball he put in for Kermgant's header, which proved to be the key moment of the game, I thought it was a fantastically well-worked corner as well. And there was a couple of moments just before he went off where he had that old McCleary sort of burst down the flank, get in some space and get the ball across. So a real shame that just as you think, great, we've got the old GMAC back, he picks up that injury. And out on the other side, Roy Behrens. What I compared him, I was sat next to Wimb Senior and I compared him, I said, he's a bit like Jimmy Kebe, but without the pace, in terms of Kebe would have these games, wouldn't he, where he would just go completely anonymously missing, but he would just then have these moments of quality that makes you think he's a great player. But Behrens just goes missing, so horribly missing. I forgot he was even in the team in the second half.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Behrens goes missing a lot more than Jimmy Kebe did. But yeah, I mean, there was a nice couple of touches. I remember him taking down like a 40-yard through ball, and he controlled it on like the outside of his foot, which is very nice. But yeah, other than that, again, he's not done anything really of note for the last 10 games now. So as I said, I would like to have seen Lewis Grabban start in his place, actually. Yeah,
Grabban comes off the bench. He misses two really good chances late on. He just doesn't seem a natural player for that wide role. We saw him kind of get the best out of him at Villa, and he was given a more central position. But out wide, he just still doesn't seem to click fully. Let's have a look anyway at how we've rated the players, because we've said we're not particularly happy with Behrens. Both of us here giving him 5s. You've given Chris Gunter a 4. It wasn't his best game from the captain, was it?
No, I mean, I thought he'd actually been doing quite well the last couple of weeks, taking over the captaincy from Paul McShane. I think he's actually done quite well. I think especially against Rotherham, it was probably one of his best games this season. He was probably my man of the match in that game. But yeah, today nothing went for him whatsoever. Misplaced passes. He let runners get past him far too easily. Yeah, and it's the sort of performance that's sort of justifies those people who get on his back week in, week out.
Yeah, and again, not fantastic. Tyler Blackett, I thought had a shocking game. There was a great tweet. I apologise, I can't remember who it was. Sent it to Tyler Stam saying Liam Moore's going to have to be checked out for a back injury for the way he's carried Blackett in that game. He just had a very sort of nerve moment. You can kind of understand why Tyler Blackett was let go by a club like Manchester United, Ollie, but why also he was there in the first place. Because you watch him sometimes and you think, this is a player with such fantastic quality and composure. And then other times, he's just all over the place. It's just an absolute mess. He still hasn't seemingly found a way to be consistent in a Reading shirt. And that sort of leads us into sort of looking ahead a little bit in terms of Paul McShane still injured, Joey Vandenberg still injured, but both reportedly in contention for the playoffs. Is this a case now that they've run out of time? Have we now got to go with Blackett and Moore as that centre-back pairing, or would you be tempted to gamble?
Certainly not next week. I think you might as well keep Moore and Blackett in for next week against Burton. But I mean, the first leg of the playoff semi-final is at least 2 weeks away, so you would hope that McShane would be back for then, or certainly the second leg. I think you don't want to be without McShane for both of those two games, especially against someone like Fulham.
Yeah, but as experienced as he is, though, he's not played since mid-March. Are you going to throw Paul McShane straight into the firing line away at Craven Cottage? That would be such a tough call to make. I think he did it. I think didn't he come straight back in either at Huddersfield or Brighton when he came back from his last injury?
I think so.
So it's so tough. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, Thiago Ilori got a few minutes as well. But I think this is, what we're going to be stuck with. I say stuck with. That's a bit overly harsh, but I think this is what we've got to prepare for. I think there might be some sort of changes between Evans, Kelly, and Swift. I could certainly see Joey coming in for one of those because I think it's a slightly less critical position to risk Joey.
Danny Williams back.
Yes, but otherwise. It does remain to be seen, but real tough decisions for Stam. It's just such a shame that we couldn't get a couple of games out of those key men leading into the playoffs so that we had no sort of doubts. It's going to be that gamble, and it's one of those things that managers do or die by, isn't it? They get those calls right, they're considered a hero. You go back to the playoffs in 2011 when Sean Cummings was played on the right wing up at Cardiff. And everyone was like, what's Cummings doing there? And he had a great game. And we win 3-0 and get to Wembley. So Nashers says we need 3 at the back. Looks so shaky without it against the better teams. Morgan Carter asked, would you mind us losing our last game and dropping down to 4th to avoid Fulham? We'll come on to that very shortly. So thanks. Keep those questions and your feedback coming as well. But solid, let's get on to it. Last game of the season. Let's have a look at the fixtures for those games. Reading, as we know, will travel to Burton on the final day. Huddersfield host Cardiff. Sheffield Wednesday, they play Fulham in the big game. Now, Fulham can't catch Reading now, so it's irrelevant what Fulham do in terms of where Reading finish. Reading will finish 3rd, 4th or 5th, no matter what happens on the final day of the season. So those are the games to look out for. If I go back to the table, Ollie, the basic permutation, as we said earlier, is if Reading win, they will be 3rd. And if Fulham beat Sheffield Wednesday, Reading will be guaranteed a home leg 2nd. Looking at all this, though, there is that case to be made. Would you mind Jaap Stam resting a load of players and risking a defeat against Burton in order to avoid Fulham?
Perhaps, but I really don't think you should be going out to try and lose a game. I think because if you do lose a game, you risk both Huddersfield and Sheffield Wednesday overtaking you and then end up finishing 5th. Which wouldn't be a great scenario. But obviously, I mean, if Reading do finish 3rd, then they are guaranteed to play Fulham in 6th. Fulham can't finish 5th now. Either they can't catch Huddersfield. So it's a case of, I mean, as I said, I don't think you can go out and try and lose a game. But if I wouldn't have any real complaints if he went out and rested a couple of players to give them more time to recover for the playoff semi-final.
I think the dream scenario for me here is that Sheffield Wednesday beat Fulham to keep Fulham's slump going. Reading draw with Burton, get a credible draw. And Huddersfield were to lose or draw their game. Therefore, meaning Reading finish fourth, playing Huddersfield. And the way Huddersfield are finishing this season in such limp fashion, they're the team you've got to want to play. I know they're a dangerous side, they've done well all season, but you just get that feeling now that they're running out of steam, and that is the semi-final you want. There's no... Reading could get Sheffield Wednesday. There is a scenario where Reading will play Sheffield Wednesday. That would be if Huddersfield were to win and Reading and Sheffield Wednesday were to fail to pick up 3 points. That would mean that we'd play Sheffield Wednesday. I think you just want to avoid Wednesday at all costs because they're seemingly rampant, and Huddersfield for me. Just desperate to get Huddersfield. But like you say, it's such a dangerous game. You can't possibly go out there with the intention of losing a game. And even if you put out a completely reserve side, who knows, they might inspire. You only go back to that game we played at Derby at the end a couple of seasons ago where it looks like a really weak Reading side and they went and won 3-0. So you never really know what team will turn up and how they'll play. Ethan says, I reckon just play some fringe players against Burton and take whatever result we get. I'd like to see Mendes, Mate, etc. While Royal says, yeah, but you still need to play your main players. You need to pick up a bit of form going into the playoffs. What team would you pick, Ollie? How would you go about selection? Would you be going gung-ho, playing that strongest side, or would you rest a few key players?
I might bring Thiago Laurie back into the starting lineup if he's fit enough for that. Perhaps give him and alongside Liam Moore a go, perhaps. In terms of the midfield, I wouldn't rest loads of players. I would probably play midfield maybe of Williams, Kelly and Swift, perhaps, which is probably perhaps your strongest midfield. Perhaps give Kermigan a rest up front and give Joseph Mendes another chance.
Yeah, agreed.
And maybe give Yaku Mate a couple of minutes as well. I mean, if McCleary's not fit enough for next weekend, then you could see Mate or Popper coming in. For that, but I'd probably risk Kermigan.
Yeah, I don't think you risk Gareth McCleary. By the sounds of it, it might be a decision that's out of Jaap's hands anyway. But if there is a case of we could play, you don't want to put him through that if he's dealing with an injury. You want to save him and get the best minutes that you can at the players. Jan as well. 17th goal of the season today, the most goals by any Reading player since Shane Long 6 years ago. So important. But he's the type of player that almost doesn't seem to want that rest. But yeah. I would sort of, unless he's 110% desperate, kicking off almost by being dropped, I think you go with that team that you played at Villa. You give Joseph Mendes and Lewis Graben the chance to play up front, maybe Popper as well alongside them. And I don't think you go fully changing everything. I think it's a case of Jaap will talk to these players and see who does want to rest. It might be a case of, if Liam Moore turns around and says, you know what, I've got a bit of a knock, I could do with the rest, fine. But someone like Chris Gunter would be an obvious candidate to rest, but he just seems to like playing. Yeah. He just seems to want to play in every game. He is the club captain at the moment while Paul McShane's injured. So obviously it goes without saying that if McShane or Vandenberg are at the stage where they can play minutes, I think you play them. You certainly start them and see how many minutes you can get out of them to see what sort of shape they're in. But otherwise, I don't know that you go the full hog by playing your likes of your Rob Dickies, your Anzi, your Colas of this world. With all due respect, I think you still need a strongish side to keep that momentum going. I mentioned as well, away from the game today, Ollie, Ali Al-Habsi taking the Player of the Season award ahead of Liam Moore and Jan Kermigan. The right decision for you from the Reading fans?
I personally voted for Jan Kermigan, but I've got no complaints really. I think Moore, Kermigan or Al-Habsi would have been all worthy winners. So but I mean, a goalkeeper winning it for 3 years in a row, which I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But no real. I mean, yes, I voted for Kermigan. I think his goals have been massively important for us, and as you said, most goals in a Reading shirt since Shane Long, and especially for someone his age. I think he's 35 now. He just seems to carry on playing, and especially since the turn of the year, he's been in fantastic form. But no real complaints about Al-Habsi.
Yeah, I think if the voting was going on actually at the end of the season, as in now or next week, I think Kermagant might just nick it. But I think as it was done mostly sort of 2-3 weeks ago, just before Jan bagged another sort of 3-4 goals, I think that maybe did it in for him in that vote. I personally probably would have put Al-Habsi third out of that trio. He has won us some key games. But I do have that problem with goalkeepers and I'm a former useless amateur goalkeeper myself. And I just think you're kind of doing your job by making some of these saves. Yes, he's pulled off some worldies, don't get me wrong, but he's there to save, to make saves. And I don't think I can't think of too many games this season where it's been Al-Habsi against the world. There have been sort of 3 or 4. But if you look at the amount of games that, say, a Kermagant's won for us, or the amount of chances that someone like a Moore's kept out in front of him, I do think that one of those guys should have won it. But again, no massive complaints really. So that's it. We roll on into the playoffs, and with that sense of fear, wonder, intrigue, all those emotions that rattle through your brain. How are you feeling about it all, Ollie?
Nervously excited is probably the best way to put it. Yeah, a little bit fearful, but I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I think this side's got a fantastic team spirit, and at the same time, it's very, very hard to predict. So anything truly could happen. I know it's a cliche, but I think anything really could happen.
Yeah, I've almost got this whole kind of weird reverse mentality of this is the side out of all the teams I've watched go into the playoffs. I would probably say this is... You're saying the worst team is harsh, but it's the most unlikely team that I would pick to win through it. But you know what? Yeah. This whole season's been about saying that, and they defy the odds time and time again. It would just be the typical end to this season for that team to get through the playoffs. You know, a lot of the time we find ourselves sort of complaining and being frustrated that they're not more stylistic in the way they win. But the important thing is they win. So this team just finds ways to win, especially at home. You know, we've gone through an entire league campaign with 2 home defeats against Aston Villa and QPR, and QPR we certainly didn't deserve to lose anyway. So especially at home, we've got nobody to fear. It's just away, and that will all play into that whole do we really want Fulham in that first leg. But said that they're going to have to pull off at least 2 wins from 3 games. That they've been averaging that sort of over the course of the season. So fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed. Key question: are they going to do it? Are they going to get promoted? If you had £10, you can either say yes or no. Where's your £10 going?
Yes, we're going to get promoted. Yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear. See, Ollie, you haven't been scarred like the rest of us with all these playoff failures of the past. So yeah, fingers crossed. As I said, I've given up trying to predict what to expect from this team. So I thought the whole way that at some point things were going to go pear-shaped. They've not. Fantastic achievement. No matter what happens from this stage, to finish the season with at least 82 points is a tremendous total. And as we said right at the top of the show, it's going to be in our top 10 league finishes of all time, which for a club that's been going for 140 odd years is ridiculous. So well done to Jaap, well done to players. Great to see so many people stay for the lap of appreciation as well, compared to the damp squib that was last season. But we will be back. We'll have a Tyler Stem podcast hopefully up on Tuesday night, and plenty more analysis and reaction to today's game, and looking ahead to the playoffs, not just on the website but on the YouTube channel, on the podcast feed. Thank you to everyone who continues to support us via Patreon at patreon.com/the Tyler Stend, patreon.com/Tyler Stend. It's our crowdfunding service. Consider it the Tyler Stend's tip jar. You like what we do, you want to see us keep doing these things. Same way you would in a restaurant, when you get some good service, you put a couple of quid out on the bill afterwards. Go to Patreon, give us a couple of quid, give us more than a couple of quid. You know, it's totally up to you, but it's all very much appreciated. And speaking of appreciated, Ollie, thanks very much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I couldn't let you go without talking about the one other big sporting event of the weekend. Watching Mr. Klitschko versus Mr. Joshua later.
I should be. Yeah, I'm not going to pay for it, but.
Whoa. You're going to the pub rather than pirating it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not. Yeah.
Absolutely. See, Ollie's not a pirate. Who's going to win?
I've got to say Joshua. I think he's just too strong at the moment, yeah.
It's the old pessimist in me says that Klitschko's going to nick it, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me, Ollie. Thank you out there to everyone who's joined us. Great to see, again, a nice active comment thread. Nash says, good stream, boys. Rodor says he's feeling sorry for Wigan. Yeah, we should say feel sorry for the Wigan fans. 500 of them had to witness them getting relegated today. They gave it their best shot. But ultimately, it's why they're down there. You know, if you had 20 shots in a game and you can't score one of them, that's what's going to happen. So thanks very much to everyone who's joined us. Thank you for listening. So stay tuned to the podcast feed, the YouTube feed, and the tilelessend.com. In the meantime, come on, you R's.